This morning, we're going to talk about and answer the question, how do you stand out on YouTube? How do I grow my YouTube channel as a new and up and coming YouTuber in 2021? Well, today's guest is here to help us to answer just some of these questions and many more. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, huddle up, because it's time for the huddle. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to the Huddle. I'm your host, Walter Strong. If you're new here and you want to find your passion, unlock your potential, and discover God's purpose for your life, then we want to welcome you to the show. This morning, we have another great guest here on the Huddle as we, in the months of June, July, and August, we are just taking time into speaking to other content creators on YouTube to be able to answer these questions. How do I stand out on YouTube? How do I grow my channel? Not just for my own personal and selfish agenda, but how I can add value to others through YouTube. And so let me read the introduction of my guest this morning. Today's guest has built his career for 21 years as a television editor in Los Angeles, shaping content for media giants such as like ABC, NBC, Universal, Disney, and Apple, and many others. His commentary on the entertainment industry has been featured in Time Magazine, USA Today, and the Associated Press. He is the author of Edit Better, Hollywood Testing Strategies for Powerful Video Editing, and is a YouTuber and creative coach at StoryGreenlight.com. Jeff is the founder of the Resolve Agency, which helps its YouTube clients focus their strategy, to focus their strategies, to better their stories, and to reach their next level of productivity. This morning on the Huddle, we want to welcome Mr. Jeff Bartsch. Good morning, sir.
Morning, man. Good to be here. I can already tell this is going to be great. This is going to be good.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Roberts also sends his greetings from last week. He says, make sure I say hello to you. Who I had Dale Roberts from last week. Jeff, tell our viewers a little about yourself and how you found your passion in creating videos on YouTube.
Sure. Well, I got to tell you, it's been a really, really mixed bag. Mm-hmm. And it started off, well, and actually, I will say, not only has it been a mixed bag, I have come to realize that it's not just about YouTube. It's about something much bigger. Okay. And we'll get to that in a second. But it started basically when I was 4 years old and my parents had someone give us a piano. And so this great big upright piano was sitting in our living room and I started picking out notes and melodies on it. So long story short, I start picking out things by ear. They start giving me piano lessons. I learned how to play the piano. I've played piano my whole life. In fact, for about the first half of my life, most people knew me as Jeff the Piano Guy. So I got into recording and arranging music. I hooked my PC up to a synthesizer and hit record on a cassette deck back in the day and started learning about recording and arranging and all that stuff. And then I got into high school, learned about video production. Mm-hmm. I was the only one in my high school of 200 people in Northwest Iowa who actually cared about video. So I had to be my own one-man band. I had to learn how to do it all. And I found on the days that I would sit down at the editing machines to put all this stuff together, I'd walk in with a stack of tapes and I'd start copying sections of them over piece by piece to my edit master. I found out you get to put music together with that. And I'm going, I can do that. I can take my own music and I can put that in. Oh, this is cool. So I just fell in love with the editing process. And I got into college, studied music composition, double majored actually in music composition and Bible studies, transitioned out to film school in Los Angeles and ended up in the entertainment industry where I started working as a television editor. And over the years, I built up a credit list for working for all these big shows. And it took a long time. It was almost, I was at least 30 years old until I figured out that all this stuff that I've been into, not just music, piano, arranging, TV editing, I started getting into radio broadcasts. I did some radio work when I was in college, and that transitioned into voiceover work when I got out to LA. And I realized that the whole thing, tying it all together, was the one thread of communication and human connection. And it just made sense that when I saw YouTube, I said, you know what? I want to pass along the stuff that I've been learning. And that was my primary goal. And I also learned about people who were actually making their own living, doing their own entrepreneurial activities online. I said, well, hey, let's put these two together. And so I started down that road, and that's what got me learning about online businesses and about YouTube and content creation. And at this point, YouTube is YouTube is not my focus in terms of me making videos on my own channel.
Okay.
My main focus is now helping creators do that for themselves.
Great. We are also on YouTube and Facebook, so we want to say good morning to our viewers watching us. Let us know in the chat where you're watching us from, and in the comment section where you're watching us from, and even those who are going to watch the replay. Let us know where you're going to watch this from. Also, I noticed in your bio you had started the story greenlight.com, where where you help, as you said, other creators take their video production and just their content to the next level. Why was it important that you felt that needed to come into existence and to be able to add value where you saw maybe others were not tapping into that niche market?
Well, the thing that part of it was I wanted to fill a gap. And the gap was where I was seeing a lot of people saying, oh, well, you just put videos up on YouTube and you're going to be fine. All you got to do is just make videos. Correct. Well, that used to work that way when YouTube was first starting out, because you can just put anything up there. And if you put enough tags in it, you can fool the algorithm and say, okay, we'll do this. And when YouTube is just starting out, actually when any platform is starting out, the organic free traffic love is flowing everywhere. They will say, hey, just please be here on our platform and we'll help you. We'll put your stuff in front of everyone. Well, every platform goes through this process of maturing. And then when you get lots of people putting lots of stuff on the platform gets a lot more picky and says, okay, well, just because you're here doesn't mean that we're going to show your stuff to people. So you have to you have to start getting a lot more particular, and you have to actually develop the idea of some very specific ways of how you shape your content and who you're telling it to and what they want and how you give it to them and all the things. And so I was seeing a lot of people on YouTube saying, okay, here's the tips and tricks on how to get your stuff to pop up in search and YouTube and stuff like that. And searchability is really important. But a lot of people weren't talking about, okay, well, how do you actually make decent content in the first place? Especially for all these people who are saying, I have an expertise in a given area. I'm an expert in my field of knowledge, but I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a vlogger. I'm not I just want to help people do this.
Yes.
And
yes.
so that's where I ended up gravitating towards. I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people who were experts in their content, but not experts in creating content.
Mm.
Thing is, it took me a long time to figure that out. And when I first started, I was the hammer that thought everything was a nail, you know?
Mm-hmm.
When there's this mentality in Hollywood that, oh, well, we are amazing and everyone wants to be us because Hollywood is amazing.
Right.
Bow down to us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I confess, I mean, I actually kind of, it's hard to be in there and to build your career in there and to not be affected by it in some form or another. So
Mm-hmm.
what I ended up doing was, when I first came to YouTube, I thought, hey, I'm a great television editor. So if I teach people how to do great editing on YouTube, that's all I need.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, was I wrong.
Right.
You know, because it's just, I mean, editing is part of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And the farther along and the more, the farther along down the road, the more an important part of the puzzle that you have to have in order to have a complete puzzle, but it's only one piece. Right. And so it's been a journey learning about all the other pieces and getting, you know, exercising humility in myself. And okay, what do I still need to learn? What don't I yet know that I don't know?
Right. And I believe having that humility helps, I believe, a new and upcoming creator understand that there is a learning curve to this whole YouTube world.
Multiple learning curves. I mean, it's one thing. One of the biggest realizations that I had at the beginning was, it's one thing to be able to edit content that's shot by other people. Mm-hmm. That's what I've done for my career, and I'm very good at that. I mean, that's what I've always been doing for my day job. But it's another thing entirely to come up with your own stuff, to come up with your own ideas, to plan them out, to shoot them. Mm-hmm. Good grief, shooting, oy. You know, and then editing, and then getting it up on YouTube, and knowing how the platform works, and knowing where your audience is and how you're connecting with your audience and all this other stuff. Oh, dude, learning curves everywhere. But I had no idea about that first starting out.
Wow. Hey, those of you who are watching this morning, if you're getting great value out of this discussion on how to stand out on YouTube with our special guest, Jeff Bartsch, drop down in the comment section, in the chat, and give us a hashtag value. And to those of you who are going to be watching the replay, give us a hashtag replay. Let me ask this follow-up question for you, Jeff. What are 3 things that you believe that a new growing YouTube creator needs to do to stand out on YouTube? Now, I'm saying new and growing, because one of the things I've learned is in this YouTube world, there's this narrative: small creator, big creator. And so when you're a small creator, you're looking at the giant, you're going, there's no way I can slay this Goliath here.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, it is all relative. Mm-hmm. It is all comparative. And the thing, it's a trap. Mm-hmm. It's a trap, you know, this is a line from Star Wars. It's a trap to say that, oh, well, bigger is always better. Or when I reach X number of subscribers or X number of views, then I will be happy. I'll even talk about what some might think of as an elephant in the room. If you go to Story Greenlight and you look at my YouTube channel, mm-hmm. I do not have an enormous subscriber base on my YouTube channel. There are specific reasons for that. Mm-hmm. The number one reason being, I have not been focusing on releasing content on that channel compared to the other priorities that I've been putting in over the last couple of years. But what I can tell you is, what I have been focusing on the last couple of years is working with established creators with 100,000, 500,000, and multiple millions of followers, and helping them in their content creation and in their channels. And they will all tell you, you will not ever reach a certain number and say, I have arrived. It doesn't work like that, because we are humanity's capability to want more is limitless. We can never get to a certain level and say, okay, well, I'm good enough. Now, 99,999 subscribers was not good enough, dang it, but I reached that 100,000. Oh, I'm happy. No one ever did. No, that doesn't happen to anyone. So there's that. In answer to your question, in terms of how to stand out, I want to talk about some of the bigger things that you may not consider if you go to YouTube and say, here's how to start up a YouTube channel. And the number one thing I want to offer is you need to know motivation. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why. Yes. And it's one of those things where you have to know why you're doing it, and you have to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because if you don't have a good enough reason, you will stop when things get hard. And it's not if things get hard, it's when things get hard. Yes, there's no if about it, it's when. And the thing is, it is easy to start a YouTube channel. Anyone can do that. Millions of people have done it. You know, the old saying, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Well, everyone is doing it. Everyone is starting up a YouTube channel. And that's the easy part. Sustaining and finding whatever you term as success on YouTube, that is what is difficult. And that is what requires learning new things, and it requires putting in the repetitions. It requires doing the work. As Stephen Pressfield would say, you have to sit down and do the work, and you have to do it in such a way that the platform where you're putting it out recognizes you and it takes off the way the platform wants you to. But none of that matters if you don't know why you're doing it, because it will get hard. And when it gets hard, you have to have a big enough why pushing you to keep going, to slog through all those other things. So that's the number one thing that I'd like to offer, is you need to know why you're doing it. And the second thing is you need to know your audience. So many people get on YouTube and they say, I have things to offer. I have value to bring to the world. I'm going to put myself out there. That is fantastic. That is important. A lot of people simply don't have the guts to do that. And anyone who's out there in the arena putting that in there, I say, awesome. Kudos, high five, keep doing your thing. Asterisk. The challenge is, if you're wanting to do that with YouTube, YouTube says, we are here. YouTube exists to provide value for the audience. The audience, without the audience getting value, YouTube does not exist. The creators come secondary to that. Therefore, if you want to stand out and succeed on YouTube, you have to know who you are reaching. Now, a lot of people who might remember the days before the internet, where there were only 3 channels of television on the broadcast television in the United States, 3-letter big networks. Yes. Well, that was the time when there was a very small amount of content on the air, and everyone watched everything literally because it was there. And because people were bored and they had televisions in the room, and they said, okay, well, there's a show on, therefore I will watch it.
Kung Fu, for example, with David Carradine.
Yeah. So there's all those, like, millions and millions of people became familiar with all these different shows. And the only reason those shows succeeded was they were the only shows that were there on the channels. And so that, of course, those days are long gone. You had cable television coming along and saying, well, hey, let's give people more specifically what they want. And then along comes YouTube and says, we're going to blow cable television out of the water and forget the niches. We're going to give everyone micro niches, and we're going to give everyone exactly what tiny little slice of flavor that they want. So what ends up happening is the audience knows that they are now completely in control. They get to choose what they want and when they want it. And they are very, very picky. They're getting pickier every day, and they are getting more fickle and harder to please and shorter attention span by the day. And if as creators, we try to ignore that and say, oh, well, my stuff is so good, people will just have to watch it. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. So the thing is, when people are starting out, you have to know who you're talking to. Now, it becomes a bit of a catch-22, because if you're just starting out, you may not know who exactly is going to resonate with your content. Right. But you should have at least a kind of a starting point to say, here's who I think this is for, and then talk as if you are talking to that kind of person. Talk specifically to a specific audience, and that will help you. That will help you raise your chances of actually making genuine connections with your audiences. So the more you know about your audience, the more you can know what they want. So, and I'm just going to say this in terms of the context. I mean, you and I both approach this from the context of faith. Yes. And Jesus even talked about YouTube. Did you know that?
Break it down for our audience. Share in the parable of YouTube how the Lord breaks it down for us.
Jesus said, among many other things, he said, "I've not come here to be served, but to serve." So many YouTube creators get on YouTube and they say, "I'm here to put myself out there and to offer my amazingness to the world." And the switch to that is, if you can approach your content on YouTube and say, how can, as you say, how can I add value? How can I be of service to this audience? That is how people are far more likely to say, wow, I'm receiving something of value that I care about. Okay, I like this person. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch this video to the end. This creator got more videos. Let's watch him. This is cool, you know? And it's because we think of the audience.
Right.
So that's thing number 2. First thing is knowing why you're doing it. Second thing is you need to know who your audience is. You can't just, if you're trying to be out there for everyone, it's not going to land with anyone. So you have to be specific about who your audience is and speak to them. Then the number 3 thing is know your value proposition. Why should people care? Why, on a platform with millions and millions of channels and billions of hours of content on there, why should people care about your stuff? It's been said, for people who remember, good grief, when I talk about different media platforms, I start feeling old. For those people who remember radio, everyone who goes to consume content, everyone listens to their own radio station, and they all listen to the same radio station with the call letters WIIFM. What's in it for me? And so if you can't give an answer to why should people care about your stuff, why should they watch it, instead of just going over to Netflix and spending the next 3 hours sacked out on their couch, well, that's going to be a problem. So when when you can actually figure out what people get out of your stuff and have an answer for that, that's a hugely important thing that will set the stage for everything downstream of that for any piece of content that you create. So I know that's kind of an extended explanation of 3 things, but they're actually couple things more that I like to layer on top of that, if I may.
Sure, go right
So
ahead.
when you know what you're doing, and you know who you're talking to, and you know what they're getting out of it, what the value there is being exchanged, then you start layering those things together. You say, you start making your own personal Venn diagram. You have this stuff here, labels, it overlaps with that. If you're familiar with the concept, the Japanese concept of ikigai, it's spelled,
I've heard of it.
It's the overlapping of, some people would say, what you love, what you're good at, what the world actually needs, and what you can get paid for, if you're thinking of that overlapping idea within the context of business building or content creation or all that, or building a career or anything like that. If you don't have the right overlapping of what you have to offer, who you're talking to, are they connecting with it? What are they getting out of it? And what are you, the creator, getting out of it? If that's not all overlapping in the right way, it's not going to work. So you have to find, and if it's not working, and if you keep banging your head against the wall over and over and over, something in that overlap is not working, and something needs to be adjusted.
Definitely.
And from there, you have to also, you just have to keep putting in the reps. You just have to, you have to figure out, it's like, okay, well, is this working? Okay, do more of that. Is this not working? Well, do less of that, and eventually you will start listening, you will start getting feedback, and you will start finding out what you don't know that you don't know. And that's when you have to adjust. And it's a constant cycle of learning, banging your head against the wall, hopefully not too hard, not punching fists in the walls, but it's coming up and asking those questions, getting feedback, and then adjusting.
Hey, I know I'm getting great value out of this discussion on how to stand out on YouTube. I know you are. So do me a favor, down in the chat in the comments section, give me a hashtag value, either on Facebook or YouTube. And those of you who are watching the replay, give us a hashtag replay. We're going to take a quick break right quick, because I want to make sure we don't have no distortion or background interference. And I got someone on my next door on my patio with my door open, and I don't want that to be heard in this great conversation. We're going to take a quick break as we address this issue. We are back here on the Huddle with our special guest, Mr. Jeff Bartsch. Sir, man, you're just dropping so much great pearls of wisdom here on the Huddle, and how we can, as new creators and up-and creators and established creators, stand out on YouTube. We need to understand our why we're doing it. We need to understand our audience, why we're doing this, because like you said, it's gonna get hard. It's gonna get hard, but hard in the sense of, I believe for me, the Lord really tested my motives of why I was really willing to do this. He says, are you doing this for yourself? Or are you doing this for me? Lord, I'm doing it for you. No, look how you acting because no one subscribed to the channel in 3 weeks. Look how you acting because you haven't gotten any views on a video that you just knew that was going to slam, but yet you don't seem so Christian-like. Man, you're sharing a lot of great pearls of wisdom. How was it for you when you first posted your first YouTube video onto YouTube?
It was humbling. You start out with you start out with 0 views and 0 subscribers. And I actually took a screenshot of that. I don't know exactly where it is. It's on my laptop somewhere, but the ground zero, and everyone starts from there. Everyone starts from there. And so in that sense, it is a great equalizer that everyone starts from 0. A little scary, but then you do have to, you find out, well, I uploaded and it's live and it's up there, and no one jumped through the screen and bit my head off. Like, okay, I think I'll go do that again.
Okay. Hey.
And again, and again, and again.
And again, and again. And like you said, putting in the reps. And as you're putting in the reps for yourself, who was it that you begin to gravitate on YouTube that really played a big influential role on you, on helping you shape yourself and being the creator that you wanted to be?
You know, I'm thinking about that. The first creator that really kind of stuck out to me was a guy by the name of Peter McKinnon. And he's one of our neighbors from up north in Canada. He's the kind of guy who walks oot in a boot when he goes out for a walk. And he is a professional photographer, but now he's built an enormous following. As of right now, he has over 5 million subscribers on his channel. And when I first saw his stuff, the dude is a walking Venn diagram. You know, going back to the Venn diagram of all these overlapping elements, where he has the personality to make things. He has an engaging personality. He has deep knowledge of a specific expertise. And that same expertise also happens to be the same area of expertise of creating videos and using high-end equipment, and putting all that stuff together. And he's targeting at a younger audience who basically wants to be him. He has all these elements working for him, and he makes it look so easy. Man, it's as if he flips on the camera, and he's just this easy breezy dude just hanging out, and you're saying, that, number one, I really like that guy. Number two, I could totally do that. Anyone who says I could do that, he makes it look so easy, I could totally do that. Careful.
Careful now.
careful where you're, because man, that's what happened to me. And I know it's happened to a lot of other people too. They see, oh, how hard could it be? Yeah. Well, you start learning. Yes. And through that learning process, I figured out at the beginning, I was thinking I wanted to be Peter McKinnon for video editing. Well, that was my starting point, and I've altered and zigzagged and moved from place to place and pivoted here and turned around there and done all the things. And I will say one of the number one voices in my life who has been an amazing guide along that way has been Tim Schmoyer of Video Creators. He is the most amazing, genuine human being, and he's actually become a good friend. And I've learned so much from him, but also, I mean, he's been incredibly generous in terms of, he's actually had me on his channel multiple times. We've done collaborations and all sorts of things. And I have learned a lot from Tim, and he's been a huge voice from my learning over the years on YouTube. And beyond that, the people who influence us, there are so many people. It's almost impossible to name them all. And the thing that I find that a lot of people often lose track of is, if you want to learn how to succeed on YouTube, yes, okay, fine. Talk to someone who is succeeding on YouTube, but also find out if you do want to succeed on YouTube, you have to dig down deeper and say, well, what are you actually doing on YouTube? Because if you think that you're on YouTube just to make videos, you're just scratching the surface.
Yes.
That's, you know, at my channel, we talk about this idea of the thing versus the thing under the thing. And so many people talk about what's on the surface. And it's easy to talk about surface things because they're the obvious stuff. They're what you see. It's the obvious elements. But when you start creating content that makes you start feeling things, or you just know in your head that, oh, okay, there's something important here. This is powerful. This means something. I need to pay attention to this. It is almost always because there is something deeper underneath the surface, a deeper idea driving what's happening in that content. And within the context, and so I instead of the thing, I refer to that as the thing under the thing. And so within the context of who are the people who have influenced me on YouTube, when you look at YouTube in terms of communication and human connection, which that's really what it's about for me, is empowering human communication and human connection. That's my mission. That's what I'm here to do. The people who have influenced me to do that are all over the map. I mean, ancient philosophers, my faith, my master marketers and communicators, speech writers, politicians, all these folks. But I will say, especially in the worlds of marketing, marketing is about persuasion and problem solving. And so much of what happens on YouTube is about solving a problem. Either people are bored and they want to be entertained. Here, have this piece of content. You are no longer bored. Your problem is solved for this amount of time.
Right.
Or you have a question that you want answered. And so you go to YouTube and you say, I have this problem. I have this question. How can I find the answer to it? And the creator pops up and says, here is your answer. I am providing the solution to you. Well, anyone who studied anything about marketing and business knows that is exactly what any business does. They solve problems with either products or services. And so a lot of the voices that have shaped my life in YouTube come from the world of marketing as well.
Great. Hey, I'm getting great value out of this discussion here. I know you're getting great value. Drop down in the comments section, whether on YouTube and Facebook, and give us a hashtag value. And those of you watching the replay, give us a thumbs up and give us a hashtag replay, because this is some great content for those of you. Maybe YouTube is not your thing, but the conversation is spurring in you why you need to find your passion and understand your why of why you're doing what you do in your industry. Understand who your audience is in your industry, so that way it sifts your motives to understand that you're not doing this so that you can be the next big time Peter McKinnon, the next big time Mr. Beast in your industry, but you're doing it because you're serving people. And that's how you stand out on YouTube. That's how you stand out in your industry. Let me ask you these final two questions, Jeff. Point number, there we go. There's so much talk about wanting to become a full-time YouTuber on YouTube. How have you, as a YouTube content creator, been able to find the balance in creating YouTube videos, doing story Greenlight, and still having a professional career and being happily married with children?
Yeah, you'll learn how to juggle. It's all about the juggling. And I will say, for people who want to go full-time as a YouTube creator, you have to find a business model that will that has the capability of giving you the returns that you're looking for. A lot of people, the only business model that they know is, I make videos, I put them on YouTube, YouTube shows ads, people click on ads, YouTube sends me checks. That is one business model. That business model works really well for YouTube and for Google and for the advertisers. It does not work very well for the overwhelming majority of YouTube creators, because they are literally receiving fractions of pennies per ad click. So I'm not saying that to tear down the system or to point fingers at the system and say, this is bad, you should pay more. No, it's just, if that's the game you want to play, then you're going to have to be, you're going to have to get millions and millions of views, and you have to be okay with getting very small financial returns for that, even though you have millions of views. Those are the kinds of people that end up in articles in large media outlets saying, this person has millions of subscribers and millions of views, yet they're broke. What a joke is this? Well, that's the fact of the matter is, having lots of people and making videos does not mean you're going to make a lot of money, enough money to support yourself being a full-time YouTuber, if that's what your goal is. If you want to actually go full-time, you have to have a way that you can support yourself. So there's that. In the meantime, you have to start looking for better business models. You have to say, okay, do I want to actually create, do I have an area of expertise that I can package up into a product and sell that? Do I have a gift for helping people? And so I can package that up into something and say, I will sell my services helping people in my specific area of expertise. And that's when you start going with a different business model. It's going from the creator directly to the consumer. You don't go on someone else's platform where they take a cut of everything, and then someone else takes a cut of that based on the other person coming on this side on someone else's platform, and the platform gives you this much money. That is what AdSense, that is what YouTube advertising looks like for creators. But if the creator goes directly to their audience and says, here is value, here is something that I believe you will find valuable. Here's, and here's what I'm asking for in exchange. Then all of a sudden you're going from supplier directly to consumer, and you have much, much, much more potential to have a business model that is sustainable and that can support you, your family, your business, all the things that you were wanting to do in the first place. But in the meantime, you got to juggle. You got to juggle. And
learn the art of juggling.
and you have to say, what are the most important things and why? Which is why you go back to the very first thing we started talking about. You have to know your motivation.
Yes.
Because if you don't have the motivation, you will bang your head against the wall. You will look at these tiny little paychecks that you get from YouTube ads and say, why am I doing this? This isn't worth it.
Right. Definitely. Boom. Mr. Jeff has just dropped the mic. Know your motivation. Understand your why. It goes back to find your passion. It goes back to unlocking your potential. Discover God's purpose and why you're doing it. There's a quote that the late Dr. Miles Monroe said, that when you don't understand the purpose of a thing, you're going to abuse it. And if you don't understand the purpose of why you're on YouTube, you're going to go through a lot of abuse. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Man, oh, man. That's some truth right there.
Yes, sir.
Well, and here's something I want to piggyback on that. If we can have our reasons for being on YouTube, but if we are going to YouTube, we're going on someone else's court. It's not our home court. We're playing on YouTube's court, and we got to play by YouTube's rules if we want to find success on YouTube. Now, what does YouTube want? In a nutshell, YouTube wants as many people as possible to watch as many videos as possible so that they will click on as many ads as possible. That is YouTube in a nutshell. They want lots of people watching lots of videos. So as the creator, if you can have your purpose for why you're doing this, but if you're going to do it here, you got to know what the rules are here in order to find success. So on YouTube, it's you need to keep people on the platform watching as long as humanly possible. Obviously, there are exceptions to that. Obviously, there are times when if you have offers that you're presenting to your audience, and you want to send them to your own website, you want to send them to Amazon, you want to send them elsewhere to get a special deal or whatever, then you will specifically and very intentionally say, all right, viewers, I invite you to get this extra piece of valuable thing for this price or whatever the exchange is, and to leave the YouTube platform so you can do that. But you can't do that all the time, because eventually YouTube will say, you're not playing by our rules. You're not keeping people here on our court. So if you want to be here with us, here's what we want creators to do. And if creators aren't cool with that, then creators need to go play on a different court.
He is preaching the gospel of YouTube. Get an amen on the Huddle this morning.
And the irony is, I have sucked at basketball. I've sucked at sports almost my whole life, man. It's and for many, many years, it was, you know what? The interesting thing is, I went to school in a town in Northwest Iowa of 1,000 people. And when basketball season was happening, it was this close to rolling a golden calf out onto the court, and the entire town bowed down to it. And when the boys or girls basketball team went down to Des Moines, Iowa, the capital for basketball championships, there was literally not a car parked anywhere on Main Street in this town. So growing up in that area, in that mentality, I just, as much as I practiced at basketball and tried to get good at it, I didn't care enough. And so I would improve this much, and everyone else improved this much, and it just sucked. And for a long time, I was really down about that. One of the things that I've realized as a result of that, while all my other classmates were focusing on the things that everyone else wanted to focus on in terms of sports and athletics, and this is the big thing, what ended up happening was the fact that I sucked so bad at it meant that I ended up focusing on the things that I was good at. Those things have provided the foundation for me to do what I do. Those things have given me opportunities I could never have dreamed of. And so the things that we think are horrible and disappointing at one point, you never know when you might be right in the middle of God saying to you, no, this is not, you think this is bad? I'm working this out for your good, and here's how. And you may have to wait for years until you see it, or you may never see it at all. But that process is always happening.
Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good of those who love him and are the called according to his purpose. And he's working it together for your good and my good. Jeff,
100%.
let me ask you this one final question. What are 3 things you wish you knew before starting on YouTube that you could share with new individuals who are wanting to upload their first? They're this close to hitting the record button, but they're I don't know if I can hit upload.
Yeah, I would say the number one thing that you need to know is your stuff is going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a reflection on you. It is a law of nature.
Mm-hmm.
No one comes out of their mother's womb knowing how to run and jump. No one who has never made a video, or no one who doesn't have previous experience with media creation or anything like that, no one goes to YouTube and hits upload on their first video and they are instantly fantastic and amazing seasoned creator. It doesn't happen to anyone. Therefore, even though you're putting your very best effort, saying, I'm putting my blood, sweat, and tears, my heart and soul in this, I'm just doing it all, your first videos are going to suck. They might suck badly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is not a reflection on you. This is what happens to everyone. And it's a sign that this is where you're starting. And this is why you need to keep putting in the repetitions so you can dial that stuff in and start improving. And on top of that, your first impression, your first ideas of what you're about and what you're going to do, that first idea probably isn't going to work. Because we get all these ideas up in our head, but we have to, but we don't know what we don't know in terms of who am I talking to? What do they actually need? Do I know what the platform wants? And am I lining up all these things? And do I have my motivation? Do I have my own head on straight? So the first overlapping our own personal internal Venn diagram of all this stuff, it's probably going to be out of whack. It's not going to work, which means you have to adjust. You have to constantly be looking for feedback and saying, okay, what's working? What's not working? If it's working, do more of that. You know, you always have to adjust. And then I'd say the other thing that people need to know before starting a YouTube channel is we never don't know what we don't know at first. Right. There are always going to be learning curves. You don't know what they are. You can short circuit some of them. Talk to people who can help short circuit those learning curves. But they will always be there, and they will always look slightly different depending on who you are and what you're wanting to accomplish. So the thing is, you have to jump in. You have to start moving forward, and you have to keep moving forward, and you adjust and you learn and you keep going.
Jeff, where, if our viewers want to get more information about you and Story Greenlight, how can they get in contact with you? We have it all in the description, but we want to make sure it's out there on live on this live stream where they can get more information about Story Greenlight.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing to do is just go to storygreenlight.com, and that has some free trainings there that people have found incredibly valuable. So that's there for the taking. It has all the links for all the different places that you can go, including the YouTube channel. And that's where to get started, storygreenlight.com.
All right, great. Question of the day for all our viewers who are watching this right now and those of you who are going to watch the replay. What's stopping you from hitting the record button? And not only hitting the record button, but hitting the upload to YouTube. Drop down in the comment section and give us your feedback on what's the pain point or challenge that's stopping you. And also, if you've gotten, I know you got great value out of this great guest, Mr. Jeff Bartsch. Give us a thumbs up, a like on YouTube. And also, if you haven't had an opportunity to subscribe to this channel, we want to encourage you to subscribe. Why? Because we want to help you find your passion. We want to help you understand your purpose in life that God has for you. And so, again, we want to thank you, Jeff, for being here on the Huddle. You've kicked this off through this whole summer as we're interviewing fellow YouTube creators on how they found their passion and purpose in life. You've tipped the ball off in basketball. We're off and running. So I want to thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. It's a privilege to be here. And I will say to anyone who is thinking about the question that Walter just asked about what's keeping you from going there, a word of encouragement. A lot of people think that there's too much, there's too much stuff. There are too many people on YouTube. There are too many channels and all that stuff. Well, if you choose to see it that way, you can make a case for that. Here's the flip side of that. There is an audience out there for you. There are people who need to hear what you have to say. And if you hold back and you say, well, I don't know if I should, if you're thinking about these obstacles, you are doing a disservice to the people who need to hear what you have to say. So it's never, it has never been easier to reach out and connect with an audience who needs to hear what you have to say. So the tools are here. It's called YouTube. It's called pick up your cell phone, hit record, hit upload, craft your message that will speak to the audience, and you will raise the impact of what you're doing here on the earth. And I get excited about that, and I hope you do too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, we're going to stop right here because next week we're going to continue our conversation on standing out on YouTube with another great guest, Mrs. Eileen Smith from eileen.smith.com on YouTube. So you want to tune in next week. But until then, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that will prevail in your life. Make a quality decision today and allow God's purpose to prevail in your life. Me and Jeff are going to talk after we are no longer alive, but you continue to let God's purpose prevail in your life. We'll see you next week.